Hello again. After reading the comments on the last video, two things came up multiple times. First, and a lot bit this surprised me, many of you said that beyond the initial jump scare, you were quite okay to see the real person behind the avatar, and therefore behind the persona. After only knowing me through a stylized character, that meant more than you probably realize. Showing my face was quite of a big step for me, and your reactions made it feel lighter. So thank you for that. The second point was about balance. A few of you wondered if, by stepping out of the avatar, behind the avatar, I might lose part of my identity. The thing that made those videos me. And my answer to that is simple. I don't think ideas need a face to exist. What I look like shouldn't give my thoughts more or less value. But at the same time, I am me. I don't want to hide behind abstraction forever. And I don't want to pretend that identity doesn't matter at all. So this is where I land. Somewhere in between. Still the same voice. Still the same themes, just a little more honest about who's speaking, and I'm glad you people took it well, once again. Also, the next IRL video, I will show my suit. For real this time. It's just that I would like to do it in a certain way that requires the time and the weather to cooperate, and it's not really the case right now, in Baguette Land. So yeah. Anyway, you clicked here for the title and or the thumbnail, not for me yapping about myself and the past videos. So let me remind you the story we told ourselves about the furry fandom. When we thought about joining, just join, or after a few weeks, months, or years inside of it. That it's a space of freedom, of expression without judgment, of creativity without limits, or acceptance without conditions. Which is all true, it's just a reminder. However, if you spend enough time inside it, something unsettling becomes visible. When you squint your eyes, you realize the fandom doesn't reward balance. Most of the time. It doesn't reward moderation either, nor does it reward quiet authenticity. Nope, a lot of the time, it rewards extremes. Not always consciously, not always maliciously, but consistently. An unstopping rhythm that grinds us like erosion on rocks. And today, I want to talk about why. It's not to accuse and or to moralize, but to understand the machinery beneath the surface. Take this as a Christmas gift and have a seat on the journey about furries and their hunger for shock. Insert usual disclaimer here, where our first stop is about the fact that visibility is not neutral. Let's start with a simple truth. Attention is not distributed equally. Shocking, I know. In any large online spaces, visibility follows rules that are rarely spoken aloud. But we yet all know, unconsciously, the loudest rise, the brightest spreads, and the most shocking sticks. And in the furry fandom, in a lot of other fandom as well, visibility becomes identity for those who play the game. You are not just seen, you are ranked, whether you wish it or not. Most people will check your likes and your retweets, how many follows you and who they are, your art quality or the artist you mostly commission, the shock value of yourself, from your personal opinion to beliefs, political, religion, you name it, and by emotional intensity. And here's the uncomfortable part. The middle mostly disappears. A calm persona doesn't trend. A healthy relationship doesn't go viral. And a grounded personality doesn't provoke engagement. But extremes do. This plays a huge part because extremity can be used as a survival strategy. Most people doesn't start out extreme. When they discover the need to be seen, to feel alive, even though they shouldn't have to, they escalate. While they're discovering themselves, they learn, unconsciously, even though some of you I know, that being slightly interesting is not enough. So they become louder, more sexual, more political, more wounded, more wholesome, more tragic, more transgressive. Because the algorithm doesn't reward nuance, it rewards reaction from all people. And fandoms internalizes this logic, especially the furry one. Not because people are shallow, questionable, but because humans adapt to environments. As a sentence I already used, when attention becomes oxygen, exaggeration feels like breathing. Let's take a step back again with NSFW, sexual extremes, and the economy of desire. Nowhere is this clearer than in NSFW spaces. Sex itself isn't the issue. Desire isn't the problem neither. The problem is escalation of freedom. Soft becomes explicit. Explicit becomes fetishized. Fetishized becomes niche. Niche becomes shocking. And shocking becomes identity. Sexuality starts being an expression and starts being performance. again, a currency even. Who can go further? Who can be more taboo? Who can push harder against discomfort in the worst way possible? The bets are always down about what's going to be the next NSOW drama that will show up because someone wanted to be more. And not because everyone wants that, thankfully, dear son, but because Extremity guarantees attention. Attention feels like belonging. Ever get that feeling of deja vu? As we can go on the complete opposite side, with the weaponization of wholesomeness. Because extremes aren't always dark. The implication of deep shadows implies the brightest of lights. And yeah, sometimes they're painfully bright. Hyper-wholesomeness, forced positivity, realness kindness, and emotional performativity. Where sadness is suspicious, anger is unwelcome, and discomfort is treated as betrayal. Echo from my last video, I know. But I can't assess everything in one video that is contained and watchable. So you must always be safe, you must always be soft, you must always be agreeable, or you risk exile. This too is an extreme, and it's just as damaging, because again it replaces honesty with presentation and community with emotional compliance. Those are only two examples, as the world is not dark or white, it's multiple shades of grey, but eventually the fandom splits. You're either pure or corrupt, safe or dangerous, victim or villain, ally or enemy. Nuance becomes suspicious. Asking questions becomes hostility. And disagreement feels like moral failure. Extremes simplify the world, and simplicity feels safe. But what gets lost, what disappears first, are the quiet ones, then the thoughtful ones, then the uncertain ones, and then the balanced ones. Those who don't want to scream, signal, suffer, or seduce slowly drifts away. The fandom doesn't exile them. It simply stops seeing them, or they don't see themselves in it anymore. All of this is not a condemnation, it's a warning. Any community that rewards extremes will eventually becomes unlivable for most humans that wishes to join it. Also way more targetable by the outside world because of how extreme it can be. Because humans are not built for constant intensity. We need rest, we need ambiguity, private growth, or just ordinary days. If the fandom wants to survive, not just expand, it must relearn how to value the middle. We might sail without any issues right now, but the storm is approaching. We don't need to be louder, nor purer, not even darker or softer. We need to be real. Because when everything is extreme, nothing is meaningful anymore. A community that only celebrates the loudest versions of humanity eventually forgets how to hold a human at all. We can be and appear as furries, but let's not act like we have rabies. Well, thank you for listening. Let me know what you think in the comments. Once again, a heavy subject, so let me know about your thoughts. And in any case, have a good day, have a good night, stay safe, I will see you soon. Bye.